Hello guys, welcome to this tutorial on NumPy, and my name is Aditya and I'll be taking you through a tour of this NumPy package. NumPy stands for Numerical Python, and it is a Python library which is used for working with arrays and matrices. Now, uh, why do we actually need NumPy? Because see, there can be many linear algebraic operations that is already inbuilt in NumPy, so we do not need to write explicit codes for that. And also, that is a minor advantage, but the major advantage is NumPy arrays are much more faster than lists. In the documentation from where I have learned this thing, it is written that it is nearly 50 times faster than lists. So that makes a huge difference when we are working with a large amount of data sets. And maybe this is the reason why most of the Python packages requires NumPy arrays as inputs, not lists, because they can work fast with it, and also outputs NumPy arrays. Okay, so in Jupyter and and Spider, uh, NumPy package comes inbuilt with Jupyter and Spider, but maybe in some other Python compilers we need to install explicitly. So in order to install, we can use this command pip install NumPy on whatever terminal we used to compile our Python codes earlier. Okay, and once the installation is done, we can directly dive into the topics that we'll be covering. So we'll be covering 9 topics in this session. 3 topics a video, that means it will be splitted over 3 videos. So stay tuned and watch till the end. So let's first get started with how can we define NumPy arrays, and how can we convert a list or tuple into NumPy arrays. Okay, so let us just write my array. Oh, before using the NumPy package, we first need to import the NumPy package. Okay, import NumPy. Let me just run this. Once I have imported NumPy, it can be used throughout the notebook. Okay, so we do not need to import NumPy in every cell. It can be used throughout the notebook. So let me just write my array is assigned to NumPy dot array 1 2 3 and 4, and if I print my array and type of my array, then we can see this output, that this whatever we have written here got converted into array, and the proof is that it is of type NumPy NDARRAY. Why ND? The reason is it is n dimensional array, right? For here, for this case, the value of n is 1, since it is one dimensional array. So in NumPy, arrays are called nd arrays, n dimensional arrays. Okay, now there are some other ways to import as well. We can import NumPy as anything, let's say a b c d or maybe z. If I use z here, I have to use everywhere z in place of NumPy. Okay, so the standard way in which people do is they import NumPy as np, and they use NumPy as np.array. Okay, and it will return the same output. Let me just run this and this, so it gives the same output. So this is how we can define a NumPy array. Okay, and see, without directly entering the values here, we can also take lists. Suppose say like my list is 1 2 3 and 4, and let me copy this, and in place of this I'll just write my list, and let's see the same output, right? In place of whatever we have written here, if we directly pass a list into this np.array, it converts the list into array. Like suppose if we had a string and we used to write here, in place of this we used to write here int, so it gets converted into integer, right? So this is how a list can be converted into NumPy array, and see the class is numpy.ndarray. Okay, now this thing can also be done by using tuple. So my tuple tuple is, let's say 1 2 3 and 4, and I'll just copy this thing and I'll write here my tuple. Same result, right? So it can be done with lists and tuple. If I use a set, it will throw an error because the NumPy array is not designed to take set as an input. Okay, so what we need to do if we want to use a set and convert it into an array, what we can do is we can simply typecast that set into a list or maybe a tuple, and then we can use it. For example, what I was trying to say is my set is 1 2 and 3, and I want to convert this set into an array. So if I do this, it will throw an error. Okay, it does not throw an error. Just a second. Okay, then it works well with set as well. I was trying it earlier and it was throwing some error, so you can use sets as well. Okay, my set, so it works fine. So this can also work with sets. I made a mistake here, let me just write here sets as well. Maybe I was making some mistakes earlier, so that is why I remembered like set cannot be used, but it can be used. Okay, as we can see it here that it can be used, so we can use sets as well. Now we are done with the topic 1. Now let's go into topic 2, dimensions. What are dimensions of an array? Let's say I write here ARR0. Okay, and what I can do is np.array, and I can, if I directly pass here 20, this is a 0-dimensional array since this is a single element. Single element is always 0-dimensional. Okay, now if I want to print, let's say the array and also the dimension of array, I'll print here. This is how we print the dimension of an array. We'll write the array name, that is ARR0. Okay, and we'll give a dot and then we can write NDIM. This will give the dimension of this array. So the array is 20 and the dimension is 0 since it is a single element. What we can do is, for one dimension we can just make it this way. We can give a single dimension 1 and maybe 23, something like this, and it will return the dimension as 1. Okay, now I'll just show you for 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional array as well. So for 2-dimensional we need 2 dimensions, 2, 3, 4, anything we can write here. See, there are 2 dimensions and the dimension is also returned as 2. If we just want it to be 3-dimensional, then we can directly do it this way. I'll give, this will return 3-dimensional array. Okay, see, the dimensions is there are 3 dimensions. This is the first dimension, these are all the single dimension things. Okay, elements inside this single dimension things are 0-dimensional. This is a 2D thing, this is also a 2D thing, and overall it is a 3-dimensional array. Okay, so this is how we can check the dimension of an array, and we can create multi-dimensional arrays. Okay, So we are done with dimensions. Now let's talk about accessing the array elements. Suppose this is our array, okay, and we want to access, let's say, let me just change some numbers, 29, 54, 4, and let's say 23. Okay, now if I want to access this element, let's say, okay, so it is in the outermost dimension, it is in the zeroth dimension, okay, it is in zeroth index, sorry, and in the next dimension, after the outermost dimension, in the next dimension it is at 1th index, so I can give here 1, and then what I can give is 0, 1, and 2, so the index is 2. If I print this, it will give me 5. Okay, other way to do this is we can just separate it by a comma. This will also return the same thing. Now if I this is quite similar to that of lists. The indexing in array is quite similar to that of lists, okay, and these are all positive indexings. What about negative indexings? Like if we write -1, it gives us the last element, right? So if I write arr 0 and I give you a -1 followed by -1 followed by -1, then it should return me the last element of this array. So it returns me 54, right? If I just want this element, okay, so what can I do is, by using negative indexing, so what can I do is, it is in the uh, last outermost index, so -1, it is in the second last, the next innermost array, okay, so it is in the second last index, and this is also the second last index, the last index and the second last index, so I can write here -2 and it will give me 12. Okay, so this is how indexing works. It is quite similar to that of lists, and just to remember that the positive indexing starts from 0, whereas the negative indexing starts from -1. The positive indexing goes from beginning to end, and the negative indexing goes from end towards the beginning. Okay, so this was all about the 3 topics that we were covering today, and we'll be covering the rest of the topics in the upcoming videos. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you actually liked the video, hit the like and the subscribe button. Also, if you have any kind of doubts or something, just comment down below. I'll be happy to answer all those doubts. So thanks for supporting, guys. Have a great day ahead.